From the Jinsi guide that I made a few days ago, I mentioned the synergy that exists between Jinsi and other main DPS characters like Carlotta, and I even gave a whole rotation guide for that particular team comp. Due to Jinsi's low on-field time, which can actually come in handy if you get bored of Jinsi's hypercarry playstyle, and trust me, you most certainly will. But some of you guys in the comment section did not agree with my take because the DPS character that you pair Jinsi with can be used elsewhere in the Tower of Adversity or the new Endgame mode that I just made a video about, so be sure to check it out if you haven't done that. And I agree, it's actually a very valid point if you don't have that many characters to beat Wuwa's endgame with, and main DPS like Carlotta does not actually have anything built into her kit that actually benefits Jinsi. But this does not apply to all DPS characters because if you take Spectro Rover for example, her S6 can reduce Spectro resistance by 10% for 20 seconds, which can benefit Jinsi quite nicely. And the most important part is that Rover has access to the Spectrofrazzle negative status in the game, so pairing her with Jinsi can actually help you in the Tower of Adversity if the buff description for the current cycle is related to Spectrofrazzle. So in this video, we're going to dive deeper into the synergy that Jinsi has with Spectro Rover, and I'll explain why this team comp is so much better and why it's stronger than the usual free-to-play team including Yuanwu, Taoqi, and Jinsi. And lastly, we'll cover rotations as usual. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to help support the channel because it helps me out tremendously. Now with all that said, we are still missing an important element, which is a character that can provide coordinated attacks, and since two main DPS characters have already been selected, the next teammate that we can pair them with should definitely be a healer. And yes, I'm aware some of you guys use Spectro Rover as a healer in the Tower of Adversity because of her S4 that heals all team members when you use her liberation, but we need to build her as a main DPS in this team comp. One of the most obvious picks will be Verena, but Verena's coordinated attacks are not well suited for this team comp because this is the amount of stacks that Jinsi can recover before the photosynthesis mark of her liberation runs out. Now, since it's clear that Verena will not help Jinsi recover that much incandescent stacks, the next pick is going to be Baija. Here's the amount of incandescent stacks that Baija can recover in comparison with Verena. Now, I know it's not a lot when you compare it with the amount that Jeji and Yinlin can recover. But with a decent rotation, which I'll cover briefly in the video, you'll be able to get more incandescent stacks for Jinsi to get at least 300k damage with every Dragon Nuke Forte skill. So here's a quick rotation showcase of Rover, Jinsi, and Baija in the new Tower of Adversity. Before we proceed any further, I want to give a big shout out to Nix on my Discord and the members of his Discord as well for bringing this team composition to my attention. Their Discord will be in the description, so be sure to check it out if you're interested. Now let's break down why you should play this team and how it actually works. We can all agree that the usual free-to-play team comp including Yuanwu, Taoqi, and Jinsi is a bit difficult to play with, and a significant portion of the damage will come from Jinsi because you need to stack as much energy regen as possible on Taoqi of around 160 energy regen to be able to use her liberation and consistently outro from the field every rotation. So stacking energy regen reduces her damage output quite significantly. And even if you give her a 5-star weapon like the Verdant Summit, all her damage soars skills of defense, so she will not be able to take advantage of the huge base attack from the weapon. Yuanwu on the other hand is mostly built with 5-piece rejuvenating glow and the Originite Type 4 Gauntlet weapon to proc heals and activate the attack buff from rejuvenating glow, but since he's not a dedicated healer, we lose access to damage amplification effects, which increases your damage quite significantly because it has its own multiplier in the damage equation. So now what makes this free-to-play team comp so good? In addition to Spectro resistance, Spectro Rover slows down the enemy movement quite significantly with her outro skill called Instant, so Jinhsi will not need to dodge any attacks from the enemy after an intro skill from Rover, which makes it quite comfortable to play with. Rover also gains 20% increase in her energy regen if you have her S3, which you should have by now, and her forte skill Resonating Echoes and Resonating Spin regenerates a lot of resonance energy, so even though Jinhsi recovers a very low amount of resonance energy for the whole team due to her very low field time to do damage, Rover will be able to use her Liberation consistently every rotation, which significantly increases her damage output, which is why we need to build her as a DPS. Now for Baizha, I already clarified in her dedicated guide video that her buffing capabilities are actually very similar to Verena, so be sure to check it out if you're interested in unlocking her full potential. Her Lotus Flower right here follows the active character and buffs the active character as long as they get healed by the Lotus, which is in 3 seconds intervals, and it does not reset if you switch to another character. In this team comp, Rover and Jinhsi stays on the field for more than 3 seconds to do damage, so they can easily get the 15% damage amplification from Baizha. Baizha is also known to take more field time compared to Verena because she needs to do basic attacks to generate her forte stacks, but it doesn't become a problem with this team comp because of Jinhsi's low on-field time, and Jinhsi can give her a free outro skill in the first rotation to speed things up even further. But keep in mind that for Jinhsi to regenerate more incandescent stacks, you need at least S4 Baizha to be able to dish out the most damage from Jinhsi. So if you pulled for Jinhsi and you don't have Jeji or Yinlin, be sure to use this team comp because it will destroy any endgame mode that Kuro Games throws at you in the future, and is one of my favorite teams to play with almost every day when I log in into the game. Now let's cover the builds before we get into the rotations breakdown. Baizha will need a lot of resonance energy because of her resonance energy cost of 175, and her concerto energy regeneration is not that good, so with that in mind, her best weapon choice is going to be the Variation because of the energy regen from the substats and the concerto energy from the passive, but if you have Showkeeper's weapon, use that on her as well. The Echo choice is going to be Rejuvenating Glow, and the stats for the 4 cost is going to be HP or Healing bonus. If you're not interested in the healing, then you cannot go wrong with either one of them. The 3 cost should be HP and energy regen, but as I said earlier, I'm not really interested in the healing, so I'm currently running double energy regen and HP on the 1 cost. Rover will be on the Eternal Radiance set with double spectral damage bonus, but if you have good stats on 1 attack piece, you can substitute that with one of the spectral damage bonus 3 cost, and she's at sequence 6. Rover's weapon should be Blazing Brilliance because of the crit damage substat that helps her make full use of the 35% crit rate that she gets from her S1 and the Eternal Radiance set. But if you don't have that, go with the Emerald of Genesis, as I'm currently using at the moment. Jinhsi is running her signature weapon, but if you don't have that, go with the Verdant Summit, Lustrous Razor, and the Broadblade 41 if you're free to play. And she's running the Celestial Light Echo set at sequence 0. Now let's get into the rotations. Here's a simple graphical representation of what you need to do. We first do basic attacks with Jinhsi to get the Incarnation skill, and as soon as you activate it, cancel the animation with her Liberation. This is a tech that I failed to mention in my Jinhsi guide, so be sure to keep that in mind. Do 4 basic attacks to get the Dragon Nuke Forte skill, but here I grapple to avoid dodging the monkey's consecutive attacks. Now intro with Baizha and use her Liberation. Fill her Forte stacks by doing basic attacks, and once it gets full, use her skill and Echo skill. Intro with Spectro Rover, heavy attack to gain the attack buff from a passive. Use her skill for the crit rate buff and the Spectral Resistance Shred, and use her Liberation and Echo skill. Baizha's coordinated attacks, as you can see here, are still active, so use the basic attacks after tune combo that I mentioned in my Spectro Rover guide to squeeze out a little bit of damage while waiting for Rover's skill to come off cooldown. When it's off cooldown, use her skill and then intro with Jinhsi. use Jinsi's skill and Echo skill, but here you can cancel the animation by dashing or jump cancelling. Jump cancelling has a very tight window because you need to use it right when the skill animation begins. If you mess up the timing, Jinsi will go into the gliding animation instead, but dash cancelling works either way, so you can use dash cancelling for simplicity purposes and minor time losses. Do basic attacks to get the Dragon Nuke Forte skill and do big damage to the enemy. Intro with Baija, but as you can see here, her liberation is not backup, so we can swap to Rover and use her Forte skill, which will be possible because you'll most likely be overstacking her Forte from the previous rotation. Doing this helps Rover do decent damage and helps Baija recover a decent amount of resonance energy. Now swap back to Baija and do basic attacks to fill her Forte stacks and use her liberation. Always prioritize using her liberation first before using her skill to make your runs more smoother, and the Rover skill we used previously will help with that. Now intro with Rover and repeat the rotation once again. As I mentioned earlier, if you're free to play or your Jeji and Yinlin are mostly occupied in Carlotta and Zhang Liao teams, feel free to use this team comp because it can help you clear even the most difficult content. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and be sure to leave a like and subscribe to help support the channel. Our community Discord will be in the channel description, so be sure to join us if you're having any issues with the game or you just want a place to chill or hang out. Link will be in the video description. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.